afternoon and welcome to the October 20th work session for the Rutherford County School Board. Leading the pledge tonight will be Mr. Jim Estes.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Estes. We'll do a moment of silence on Thursday, Ms. Joyce. And the agenda, questions, discussion? Hearing none. The consent agenda, questions or discussion?
Automobile came in mess. Did you see that?
We have to take sealed bids for anything that in a fund will exceed $10,000 in the fiscal year. We cannot negotiate anything, any type thing where we will anticipate spending $10,000 or more. We cannot negotiate with a vendor. The only time we can negotiate is we can negotiate with the lowest and best bidder on a construction project. But that's the only time we can negotiate over that $10,000 threshold. Yeah.
I still think they're taking a little bit of advantage of us on the price.
There are aspects where it definitely hurts us, where Ms. Pater and Ms. Robichaud could go out and negotiate better if we had that. Yes, sir.
Anybody else? And of course, we'll be back together on Thursday in case something comes up between today and Thursday. 6 is visitors. Number 7, we'll have some recognition.
Kyle Prince came back as he's Grand Division Teacher of the Year by Tennessee Department of Education, so he'll be with us again.
We keep getting these recognitions of
We
our
do.
very talented.
I was hearing last night or some about how many in CTE, some of our ag students had won quite a few awards in it. So James was tracking some of that to see several of our schools.
Soil judge.
Soil judging, I think it was Oakland High and some others.
Yes, Eagle was always in that mix too. So.
Oakland actually won that one, which I was, they had not before, so it was good to see that.
And Mr. Fred Blair will be talking about school nutrition.
Y'all asked for him to come. I think it would help him a little if, and we'll take a note, Ms. Michaels take a note, what do you really want to, he's got the overview down, but if you had a specific question, he could have it ready for you. That's kind of what we might want to do. Do you want him to talk about summer feeding?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd just like to know how sites are picked that he is in charge of. I know there's some in the city and perhaps other places too, but in the county, I'd just like to know how sites are picked for the summer feeding program, because I know they've moved around in recent years. Sometimes they get approved, sometimes they don't. And I'd like to know how that process is arrived at.
Mr. Holliday?
I think it's also appropriate that we start exploring what, Mr. Odom, you've indicated. We're getting terribly close to the possibility of having to increase price on lunches and just take a look at if there are alternatives to that, just what avenues are available, so.
As far as menus, does that come from the, I mean, does that,
Well, we write our own menus. We have a person that's nutritionist that has to do it under the federal guidelines, the menus, about how many, what has to be included on it. But then those purchases are made in bulk to cover those menus.
but do all schools serve the same menu every day?
Basically, there may be a little bit of difference in some of you. Mr. Sandvig tracks that closer than I do, but there may be a little bit of difference sometime in some of the high schools with some of that, I think. And kind of see what variations.
I'll make a point of clarification that Mr. Fred Blair and I are not related, except maybe back to Scotland, but not immediate bloodline. Number 9.
Number 9, I asked Mr. Solomon, which I've been doing the monthly report, but he's basically completed all of this in much less time than I thought it was going to take to do it. So he's actually coming in and doing you a short, kind of a summary of how many computers are installed. I won't take his thunder away to do that. A few of the little issues that he saw dealing with it. The testing and all that thing's sort of interesting. Miss went down again today for a while. The problem was on, I don't think, it hadn't been our problem. The most we've ever used is like, we have a 10 gigabyte stream, and we've just, in the break miss day, we hadn't used but about 2 gigabytes, and since then, about 1 gigabyte, so it's not our stream, and it's not the state's. It's happening on the end of the testing vendor side, Measurement Inc. Today, it was their servers, I think, some of their routers and servers at their site. Mr. Zago managed to get through to them, and they confessed.
Mr. Solomon may be able to title his, with what they accomplished, shock and awe, maybe,
Maybe.
everything that.
They really have done a lot, and John's been a part of it, he can tell you too. Started back in the summer, and it's been, hasn't let up, has it, John?
Well, congratulations on your effort and your success. Number 10.
Number 10 is the new and revised policies. This is policy 3.206, community use of school facilities. The purpose of this revision is to add a provision prohibiting the use of school facilities for funeral, cremation, or burial purposes or services. Memorial services may be permitted for individuals who have particularly strong involvement with the school or the school system to prove in advance by the director of schools, and so long as the deceased is not brought into the school property. So policy 5.118, background, well, no, there's 2 policies here, and then we'll do the together. Second policy is background investigations. Purpose of this adoption is the adoption of the policy is recommended by the Tennessee School Board Association to be compliant with state and federal law requiring policies and/or procedures and address use, dissemination, retention, security, storage, disposal, chain of custody, and misuse of criminal history background check records. And the recommended approval will be a motion to approve the revision to policy 3.206 and the adoption of policy 5.118 on first reading as recommended by the policy committee.
Again, this will be first reading.
I think, yes, on first reading. Mhm.
Number 11.
Number 11, I'll do a State of the Schools report, and we did hear today that the public release of the state report card will be at 11 o'clock Thursday morning, so I'm going to get to share it with you, and it won't be embargoed. So that was a good thing, but I've had to go in and change kind of what I was going to do, so it'll be a better report for you to see in comparison on. So that's coming out. I think you'll be interested in some of the things that we've in the report card and some of the other things beyond just the report card, and talking about the state of our schools and some of the things that's going on in our schools, to try to fill in some of those blanks for you and for the people that are watching us over TV. Kind of exciting time to see what's going on in our schools.
Yes. Looking forward to presentation, Mr. Odom. Number 12 is the Director of Schools Annual Evaluation, and I guess you can go ahead and,
The recommend approval. The motion is to approve contracting with the Tennessee School Boards Association to assist the board in regards to the annual evaluation of the Director of Schools for the 2015-2016 school year.
I think we were all very pleased and impressed with the way they organized it and presented it last year, but we certainly can have some discussion if there's another direction you prefer to go. I asked Ms. Joyce to go ahead and contact TSBA, and they are ready to go if this board so approves on Thursday night. Mr. Holliday, you're looking,
I'm just wondering, and it really doesn't matter, but is the evaluation for the 15-16 year or for the 14-15 year? I mean, I can kind of see it either way. It's the evaluation we're doing for the 15-16 year, but we're kind of evaluating the 14-15 performance. I don't know. That was what I was thinking in my head.
but it would
know me enough
It
to-
would be past performance.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, it is what it is.
But yes, it's happening in this school period, but yes, sir, you are correct.
For principals and teachers and all this for this year.
Okay.
It is 15, 16, it's the way they
Okay.
listed.
Good enough.
Are we going to do it the same way that we did it the last time, or are we going to, is that up for discussion on Thursday, or?
I thought I would bring that to bear on Thursday.
Okay, that's
that,
fine.
You know, give you an opinion.
That's fine.
I have one. Thank you. Anybody else? Well, again, we'll have discussion on that Thursday. Will there be any kind of insurance update? We meet next, okay.
If you will, allow her to kind of make the announcement so it's on TV tonight, because we're in a real tight time frame, so we may want to do it tonight and Thursday night for our employees. That's what I'm
Yeah.
very concerned. If they don't go online and do this, they lose their insurance. I don't want that to happen, so I'm concerned.
Yes, sir.
So we have taken several steps to send information out to all of our employees. We've always utilized our email system and tried to communicate with those persons who had access to email. Even though everybody has an email address, they might not all check their emails frequently. So we did a school messenger last week that went out to all of our employees as well, notifying them that open enrollment did begin yesterday, October 19th, and it will extend through November the 2nd at noon. This year, under the mandates of the Affordable Care Act, it is vital that all employees log in and either accept or decline medical coverage. Even those employees who don't utilize our medical insurance are encouraged to log in and decline should they choose to do that, so that our insurance administrator can have an accurate record of the number of people who have elected one way or another. But all employees who are currently in the plan must log in, they must accept and select those benefits that they choose for next school year or for 2016, make those elections, and then submit that to the insurance administrator through that ADP process. It's very quick. I've done mine. Takes less than 10 minutes to do it, even if you take the step-by-step approach. You can print a copy at the end, which I encourage everyone to do, and we said that in our phone message as well. Print it so you'll have a confirmation, so that anything should come up, you would have that piece of paper to present to dispute any issues that might arise in that process.
Not counting tonight and Thursday night, how many notifications will our employees receive?
Well, A lot. I've probably sent
Every day lately.
every day. You know, Ms. Street sends them out to those of us in every department and asks that we then share them with our employees. So we probably sent up to 10 notifications so far. Each one is slightly different. It describes different things. Of course, last week we promoted the wellness fair, excuse me, and our flu shot campaign. So that was included. We've also promoted the wellness initiative to make sure everyone meets that November 30th deadline to avoid the $30 charge per month for not completing that process. So a lot of different things are included in these messages, but moving forward, it will pertain to open enrollment. And so I expect to see one every 2 or 3 days come from Ms. Street that we will forward on.
I'm more concerned about our classified employees, that cafeteria worker, custodian, other people that may not be checking emails like teachers do on that regular basis, because literally, and one thing we need to get clear here, even if you had insurance last year, you must go back on, or it's gone in January. So I'm really concerned about that. So that's
You
why
must go in,
we
you
did
must go
School
back
Messenger,
on.
which is a telephone call to everybody's house. So we're trying every way we can, but I'm concerned about it. Almost 5,000 employees in Rutherford County Schools, think about it.
And Mr. Odom, we also, when I send these messages out, I'll often send them a second time just to the principal and ask that they print it and post it in the cafeteria, in the lead custodian's closets, wherever those employees may congregate, so they'll see that information.
Does every employee have an email address?
Yes, they do.
So they're-
That's something that was initiated, I believe, last year, sometime during the year. Every employee was issued an email
So
address.
they're getting emails, plus they're getting,
The phone.
like the school messenger, like our parents. and-
Correct. Plus, in the mail, of course, they
Right.
receive the packet with all of the information. And we've hosted meetings. Those meetings were set up by the insurance department. And Ms. Street contacted me to say she's had about 50 people in attendance at the first meeting, which was a large crowd, you know, compared to past years. So they host those meetings for information. If anyone needs additional assistance, they're there to help them.
This
How many
effort-
people do we have right now that has not responded?
I'm sorry,
How
could
many
you,
people do we have that has not responded yet? to
I don't know that. It's probably a little bit early since we're only in day 2. But Ms. Street typically sends those out, that information out to me. After about a week, she'll give me a general idea, and that will help us then to promote the next round of connections that we send out.
I'm just curious if we could track it.
Well, certainly due diligence to make sure everybody gets covered. So you'll be doing this again on Thursday night.
Yes, sir, that's fine.
So.
Thank you.
Tonight looks to be a little short, but with Mr. Blair on the food nutrition and Mr. Solomon on the installation of all the technology and yours state of the school address, that'll make it a little lengthier meeting on Thursday. So, we're to general discussion by board members. Mr. Odom, could you speak to Commissioner McQueen? She's issued, I think, some goals for are they 5-year goals for the state?
She has a time frame on them. Some of them are not quite that far out. Most are about 3, I think. She had 3 major areas. One is that Tennessee would continue to move up in the NAEP scores, National Assessment of Educational Progress. That's the one that you kind of, when you compare the United States to another country or something, very often they use NAEP scores to do that. The way that assessment is done, it's random for each state. They might call David Urey School and say, your 4th grade class will take section A of science. And they may do a reading at another school and the other. So it's a sampling, is what I'm saying. It's not everyone's assessed at all. It's a sampling source. And so individual schools do not get any report back whatsoever. So we'll not get any kind of Rutherford County report from NAEP, but the state gets a report. So that's on hers. The other one, report she had was post-secondary. She's very concerned kind of with Governor Haslam's Reconnect and a Drive to 55, all of that initiative to try to get more people with post-secondary credentials of some type. So that's one of their goals. We have never been, as a school system, we can't put that in our strategic plan very easily because we've never had a real source that tells us what happens after high school. And some of our counselors can get back in touch, but I was on a state committee, it's been a decade ago. And there was a talk at that time that they were working on a national network that would connect all states together and all universities and that sort of thing, and they were going to be able to try to track students. I don't really know what happened to that. But there are estimates. You can go online, you can get some information, but it's not really accurate. Her other goal is for an ACT score of 21 across the state, in the next, I believe it's about 3 years, something like that. 2019, and so the state of Tennessee still embargoed in it this year. It's a ways to go, so I think that's an aggressive goal for her. But that'll be, I can show you that Thursday night. That'll be out there. Actually, the memo we had today, you can't talk about graduation rates, so it's embargoed. So anyway, that was her 3 goals. Now, we're working on our strategic plan. We actually have another meeting tomorrow. We're going to put some numbers, some our goals with some numbers, some things, but we won't be able to attach to her first 2 directly because we did not get Nate back. We don't have a system in place yet to do that post-secondary information. You may want to talk today about, we attended a meeting today. I attended a workforce development on Monday at the Chamber of Commerce. Rutherford County is in the lead for this. What's happening across the state of Tennessee, they're doing it regionally, like Southeast Group or Southwest or whatever. Rutherford County was the first one that created its own economic development council to bring in business, industry, education, MTSU, Motlow, Dr. Kinkle was there from Motlow Monday, and all of that to this council about what do we need to prepare students so that will have a place to work and what we can do with career and technical education, pathways, that sort of thing. That was Monday. And so Rutherford County was the first in the state to do it. And so the state came in and looked at what Rutherford County has done and didn't say, you need to join up with another one. You've got your own already going on. Since Rutherford County received it, Montgomery County has received it. There's only 2 counties in all of the 95 in Tennessee that have done this on their own at this particular point. So us and Montgomery County are the only 2. So following up on that, there's a series of meetings associated with that. And so Mr. Blair and I attended a session today on workforce. You may want to, do you want to talk about that any?
Just that I'm just amazed at the success of the Rutherford County Chamber of Commerce with President Paul Latour and Beth Duffield, who I think heads up the workforce development part. And if I understood correctly, this is they're in their 5th year of working the plan for attracting home offices and along with manufacturing businesses and working with our schools. They've been incredible partners in trying to make sure that we develop programs like Monotronics and putting our students and encourage them into the post-secondary training aspect, so they'll be career ready, if you will. And the commitment to that has just been impressive, and would love to see that presentation again.
She has some really interesting statistics about Rutherford County and the state in general. I mean, it's really, she's really positioned herself. I was speaking to Paul Latour after it. I said, I'm surprised how much she knows about our CTE programs, how much she's tracking job availability and that sort of thing, so extremely strong. She did make a statement today, said in all of her, I think she had been doing this about 15 years or so, tracking it. So this is the first commissioner of education that said is a high priority, that really high schools will prepare students for the workforce, that they're looking beyond high school for what needed to be done and how we need to align to make that happen for. So she was a very good compliment for Dr. McQueen for that today, saying she's the first one she'd heard do that. She did say that Dr. McQueen made 2 references to Rutherford County in her speech. One was really this council that's formed and with the Chamber of Commerce and the business and industry and all that sort of thing. And said the second thing she referenced was our RTI Square program, that working with kids who were a little bit behind to do that. So she referenced us directly twice in that speech. So really good presentation.
Statistically, if you have the training, there are very profitable careers waiting to be taken. They're looking for those individuals that are trained and ready to begin their career or continue their career.
She would do a presentation for us because it's on TV, or she might give us some material if y'all would like to look at it, because it projects down in the next number of years based upon, there was a study done for Rutherford County, she said, which they didn't have to pay for because we were so far ahead. The state's workforce development paid for Rutherford counties to see what the model would look like, since we were the first. And so she's got some real projections out there. The highest paid salaries in Rutherford County right now is the manufacturing sector, over $69,000, kind of an average. So it's really high. And she lists by industry. Johnson Controls, she worked for once, who's hiring the most people, how many people work there and all. So it's an extremely, if you're interested in Rutherford County, it's an interesting report to me.
And the manufacturing was almost 20,000. Was it almost 20,000 above the other?
Above IT and the others, I
Right,
was really
in
surprised.
finance, and it was, I was surprised with the numbers.
One of the biggest growth areas was finance and insurance, so it's more competition for Mr. Blair.
You were like, we need that.
That was one of the highest growth sectors.
There's plenty of us and bankers, I think, so. Mr.
Originally, they had expectations to do the same presentation again on Thursday evening, and that didn't make. There weren't enough people that signed up for that. That's the one that I had signed up for, just because of scheduling conflicts. But if they're available to come and bring any portion of that or share any of that with us, I would be very interested in that. Appreciate the report.
I would think she might be interested because we'd have to give her more than 15 minutes, but
Yes.
I think they'd be interested because we're broadcast and then YouTube, so it lets them get the message out, whereas today we had, 40, 50 people there, something like that at Patterson
Right.
Center. So it
One
would
end of the
be-
county to the other, members
It
of the
would, so
county.
it would be with a lot, and it's really that if the target audience turns out to be some of our parents and grandparents and things that are associated with our students, it would be especially interesting. If you'll kind of make a note, Ms. Michaels, I'll try to speak with her and see if she'd like to do that.
I bet she could condense it into at least 30 minutes. I mean,
Oh, yeah, I think she'd be glad to do that because some of the things she did might not be directly what.
And along those lines, I think it also kind of ties in both with Commissioner McQueen and also our presentation in our last meeting about ACT improvements. We left that meeting with good information about what could be done, and I'm wondering, are we in a position, coupling this economic development information as well as an emphasis of getting that information out to the public? It's so important that we touch the parents as we get them to make informed course selections with their students at that high school level, and the impact that it has on the ACT performance. And that ACT performance then supplies us the Drive to 55, the post-secondary admissions, and the post-secondary accomplishment and achievement. All of those things tie in together, and I wonder if it's appropriate for our system to have some specific goals related to that, and perhaps in the coming meetings we'll see, these are our 3 priorities. This is our 4-point plan for improving ACT scores. And among those, I expressed in the last meeting, I think looking at that valedictorian expectation, phase in, over many years and all that kind of stuff, it may be a component of it.
She talked about the academic piece and the work preparation piece, dealing with that. So she had both the two parallel. I guess one of the statistics that caught me about the number of, because of baby boomers, the number of people retiring, literally, it creates huge gaps in people trained or skilled to go into it. So that was the other factor that she said. And then also the other piece about just the growth for Rutherford County and the needs, what it might be. Right now, there are more openings than there are people to fill those that have a skill. So what we have is a skill deficit more than a count deficit. But interestingly enough, which again, and I may, if I'm not real correct, straighten me out on this one, that if every high school senior we has goes post-secondary, it still will not meet the goal of the Drive to 55 to have 55% for Rutherford County. If over the next several years, till this thing expires, if every high school center went post-secondary, it still wouldn't raise the percent enough. So the other thing is all of the number of people out there who, and she has a percent in the number that have some college but didn't finish, that could be, and then also how many other options. So it's going to take more than Rutherford County Schools, was her message, to pull this off. Tennessee, the TCAT, with the technology centers and that sort of thing. And also, again, it was really kind of eye-opening to me. It's the first time I'd seen some of those figures.
And I remember at our adult education graduation that they mentioned the Reconnect program for those that may have some collegiate experience, and give them an opportunity to go back and complete that.
As part of my presentation, I've looked at the census and for Rutherford County and done some little research and some numbers. So you're going to be surprised at some of that as far as the need for adult education, that sort of thing too. So I kind of did a little bit of weaving that into the presentation Thursday night also.
Mr. Holliday?
We hear a lot in our boardroom here about curriculum and what is being taught in our classrooms, and I just want to make sure and highlight the opportunity that the general public has right now. And I checked with the Tennessee Department of Education. The website for the science standards is open for public comment, and it is open to the end of November.
The link is on our website if they have trouble finding it. Right, James? The link, we put a link on our website so it'll help our parents find it.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that I found when I went into that is that it says in language, kind of boilerplate at the beginning, if you stop or if you pause too long, then all of your work will be thrown out. If you don't complete this, then your work will be thrown out. And so it says in a lot of different ways, stop what you're doing, concentrate, and commit some time to this. Well, that's a pretty daunting expectation when we're talking about science standards, elementary all the way through high school. I did some investigation. If you finish just the 3rd grade science standards and hit save, your comment is good. if you finish just the 5th grade or the 7th grade or and so you can take bites of this thing. And that has helped me a little bit as I've been trying to work through this. But I want the general public to know that, because that wasn't real clear in what I read. I was thinking, oh my goodness, I need to block out 6 hours some Saturday or something to get into this. But you can take bites at it. Okay?
I think I'll save my time for physics and work on that part.
That's open too, science is open now, so.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Thank you, Mr. Holliday. All right, well, we'll be back together on Thursday. If you have any questions, of course, central office staff always available. And I think we've had a pretty good work session. Thank you, Mr. Odom. That's a lot of valuable information. I really enjoyed that presentation with the workforce development today. So, okay. Anybody else? All right, see you back here on Thursday night. We stand adjourned.